I put a spell on you. And now you're mine.
These days, there are many witches who have captured our hearts in the best of ways. There's Winifred Sanderson, her sisters from Hocus Pocus, Alex and Cameron from the Disney movie Twitches, and Marnie Piper from Halloween Town. The list goes on. But how did the world become so fascinated by the idea of a witch? Well, we can trace this fascination back hundreds of years to the year of 1692. What was so significant, you may ask? The Salem Witch Trials, of course. This was a period of history where massive hysteria befell the small village of Salem, Massachusetts. It was a time of accusation and panic, vengeance and fear. No one was safe from the news. This was to be considered the most unjust proceedings in all of American history. This all began with Betty Parrish and Abigail Williams, two young girls from the Salem village. Both girls started acting strangely, seemingly in a sickly state. Betty's father, Reverend Parrish, out of worry, immediately placed the blame on his slave Tituba. She was known for partaking in voodoo rituals within the forest. Witnesses claimed the two girls were sneaking out with Tituba to join her in this witchcraft. However, the young girls denied these allegations, not wanting their innocence to be questioned. They claimed their sicknesses were the work of Tituba when in fact it wasn't. Bernard Rosenthal, author of the book Records of the Salem Witch Hunt, writes, "One issue of contention concerns the behavior of Betty and Abigail, as well as the similar behavior from others following them. What caused their strange behavior?" This question has been asked by many historians. Was there really witchcraft afoot in Salem village, or were there other forces at work? If you were part of the village, the only logical explanation would be witchcraft. Keep in mind the people of Salem were strongly religious Puritans. Anything outside of their beliefs was terrifying, and to them could be the work of the devil. As Increase Mather states in his book Case of Conscience, so odious and abominable is the name of the witch, to the civilized, much more the religious part of mankind. It was an abomination to practice witchcraft, especially in such a religious spectrum as Salem village. What really was the devil's work to the townspeople of Salem? This was the act of pricking your victims with pins, asking them to write in your book, and leaving your physical body to afflict the victim with harm. These were the symptoms the young girls claimed against all that they accused. These so-called symptoms seemed strange to the townfolk of Salem. Because the village doctor was unable to find anything medically wrong with them, other suspicions came into question. In a fit of panic, Reverend Parrish sought out his slave Tituba and in a desperate attempt beat her to get her to talk. She continued to deny the allegations. Unfortunately, this was only the beginning of the accusations to come. Seeing all the power they could have by only uttering a simple name, Abigail Williams and her cousin, Betty Parrish, reveled in it. They enlisted the help of many of the young girls in the Salem village. And thus, the Salem Witch Trials had begun. The accused would stand court with the court of Oyer and Terminer. The first accused by the young girls was Sarah Good. Along with her, Sarah Osborne and Tituba. Their warrants for arrest came on March 1, 1692. They were examined on the claims of Abigail Williams and Betty Parrish. Each examination started with this question: "What evil spirit have you familiarity with?" This question was asked as a prompt to get the accused to confess. None did. All answered with none. In fact, they accused each other. Hawthorne desired all these children to stand up and look upon her and see if they did know her, which they all did, and every one of them said that this was one of the women that did afflict. Abigail Williams and Betty Parrish weren't the only girls who started the string of accusations. Ann Putnam, Mary Wolcott, and Mercy Lewis became prevalent during these trials as well. All three accused George Jacobs, and he came to be examined. He was a frail man and by all accounts looked as if he could never hurt a soul. Abigail Williams cried out, "This is the man," and fell into a violent fit. Ann Putnam said, "This is the man, and he hurts her, and brings the book to her, and would have her write in the book." Mercy Lewis is asked if George Jacobs is the man that afflicts her. She replies, "This is the man, he almost kills me." Next comes Mary Wolcott, who accused the town healer, Bridget Bishop. Bishop was known around Salem for her good deeds and her help for young women. This did not matter because on April 19, 1692, she was brought in for her examination. When she first entered the courtroom, all the girls fell into fits. When asked if she was a witch, Bishop replied, "I know nothing of it. I am innocent to a witch. I know not what a witch is." In reply, Samuel Parrish states, "How do you know then that you are not a witch?" Then came the examination of Giles Corey by Mercy Lewis. On the 14th April 1692, I saw the apparition of Giles Corey come and afflict me. Giles Corey would not admit to being a witch, so as punishment, he was pressed to death with stones. He was the only one of the accused to not be executed by hanging. All of the young girls accused John Proctor of witchcraft. I have seen the apparition of John Proctor among the witches. There were rumors of Abigail Williams urging the girls to accuse this man because he had rejected her romantically. This was never found to be true. As for John Proctor's wife, Elizabeth, she was also accused of witchcraft by the young girls. However, her life was spared, having been with child on the path of her accusation. Her husband, John, wouldn't be so lucky. All these young girls had to do was stand up and say that these men and women were the ones hurting them, and instantly they were believed, by word of mouth and by lack of spectral evidence. Not one person was even called to trial, much less hanged, on the basis of spectral evidence alone. The single magnet that most notably attracted the court's attention was the charge of non-spectral acts of malefic witchcraft. The courts wouldn't have to see the accused perform witchcraft, but yet they would be found guilty. Within the courtroom, the young girls made a show of screaming, crying, and pointing. What were they pointing at? The supposed apparition of the individual being accused. Coincidentally, the only ones who could see these apparitions were the girls. The reverend, the judge, and the rest of the court could not see the apparitions. In their mind, however, it was there because the girls claimed it to be. This is non-spectral evidence. It can't be seen, but it can be believed if tried hard enough. During this time, no person accused in the Salem Witch Trials was hanged on the basis of spectral evidence or evidence that can be seen and touched. It was all non-spectral. If these courts were around today, do you believe that these accused persons would have been hanged this way? Of course not. In the modern-day court system, for proper punishment to be given, the decision would be based on physical evidence, which would prove them guilty or not guilty, and even then the death sentence was rare to be given, unless the crime was unspeakable. In Salem, a hanging was the go-to solution for punishing people who were convicted of a crime and or witchcraft. "20 innocent people were hanged during the Salem Witch Trials. They weren't given a fair trial, and their basis of evidence was non-spectral. After the trials were all said and done, the magistrates, who began the proceedings lasting from 1692 to 1693, knew that what they had done was wrong. Therefore, to try and make up for their mistakes, they compensated the families of all who were convicted. This act of generosity wouldn't be ignored, but it wouldn't be appreciated. Nothing could bring back their deceased loved ones. No matter if it was a disease or hysteria, Salem Village in 1692 was a place of fear for all. Any could be accused, and loyalty did not matter. Families turned against each other, friends betrayed each other, and no person was safe if they were accused. These proceedings would become the most significant in American history. The perspective of a witch was marked. However, the fascination surrounding the witch has never left history's side.